So, you may have heard the story that came out a couple of days ago, where a man can be seen throwing a dog down some stairs in the apartment building where he lives. It seems some of my comments on this story really triggered the tiny group of dog worshippers who ignore the bulk of my arguments and watch a ton of my videos, despite claiming I'm literally the devil. But my main point is that with incidents such as this one, just in general, there is a huge double standard in society. The outrage over anything remotely harming a dog somewhere, even slightly, is very selective. And the vitriol that we see from dog worshippers, even when someone justifiably shoots a dog in a clear case of self-defense, is so inexplicable. It doesn't have to be this specific scenario, but I will say this much about it. I hadn't even watched the full clip when I commented on it a couple of days ago, although I did watch it after that. But my main point was that I would withhold judgment about this until we have all the details. Assuming what was said in the video is correct, where this is a regular occurrence and that the guy has supposedly been doing this for months, then it is obvious that the person doing this is a dog owner. They even say at the beginning that the dog is his. And what have I been saying? Dog owners and people who choose to be around dogs, or those who are forced to be around dogs, are the ones who are either 1, engaging in dog abuse, or 2, forced to harm dogs in self-defense. It isn't people who don't wish to be around dogs. That is exactly what I said in my video, where I explained how our movement does not promote animal or dog abuse. And it remains the case. I just wish people would look at situations like this and ask questions critical of dog culture, and which don't always assume that dogs are hapless victims no matter what. Now, just so it's perfectly clear, I don't think you should be able to own a dog if what you are going to do is toss it down the steps all the time. But that's assuming he voluntarily lives with this dog. And in a dog-free world, this would never happen. Even if the world wasn't so dog-obsessed and insane that dogs are now allowed to be kept in flats, this would never happen. And that is what I advocate. I don't think dogs should be a thing at all, obviously. But at a minimum, why can't we keep them out of apartment buildings? It creates a living hell for many of the residents. And even if the dogs are being fed and walked and all the rest of it, it can't be good for the dogs themselves either, to be kept in such small confined spaces. Personally, I think it is cruel to even want to keep a dog or any other comparable mammal in a small flat. Putting everything else aside, that is inconsiderate of the pet, and it is only dog owners who are doing that, in the case of dogs. It certainly isn't good for the neighbours who can hear the sounds these animals make. But where is this level of outrage when a dog mauls a child to death or constantly harasses tons of people on a daily basis? That is the real point. Many times after a pit bull attack or some other dog attack, inexplicably baffled nutter reporters will often ask what could possibly have led up to the incident, when the obvious answer is that it's a fucking dog, and that's what dogs do. They attack people. They do it all the time. But when a human somewhere shoots a dog or harms it in some way, they don't ask what led up to that. They just assume a person was out to harm a dog for no good reason, when in reality, dogs are the ones constantly attacking people without cause. It is relatively rare that a person will harm a dog for absolutely no reason. I'm not saying this never happens, but people generally don't do things like this. And even if the reason is that the dog aggravates the living hell out of someone who chose to own it, or who is forced to live with it, or date someone who owns the dog, that is a reason. And I'm not saying I think this is justified, but it does prove that dogs do the opposite of relieving stress or making people happy. Obviously, it is unfortunate that so many people are constantly being brainwashed and pressured into buying dogs, or into interacting with them. The main takeaway is that dog ownership itself is the reason things like this happen. You will never create a world where every single dog owner is considerate of others, or of their own dogs for that matter. Racist comments like this one, which reads,
"Their culture has no qualms about assaulting the very young, the very old, or animals,"
is so ironic. This sentence literally could have been written about dogs. After all, dogs are predators of a foreign species, and they tend to attack the very young, the very old, and animals. Was this clown going for irony? Are they not aware that children and the elderly are the most common victims of dog attacks? This remains a reflection of the fact that because of the presence of dogs, and whatever mania most dog people seem to be in the grips of, our societal priorities at the moment are out of whack. Frankly, this shouldn't even make the news. Dogs shouldn't ever be on the news at all. There is nothing special or important about them, other than to their weirdo worshippers. The rest of us literally don't care.